Hello and welcome to the Watermark Water Cooler. We're here with Lane, a digital specialist here with us.
Yes, sir.
Lane, we're here to talk about client acquisition costs.
Yeah.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll get into it?
Sure. So I've been working at Watermark as a digital specialist, digital strategist for about 9 months now. It's really flown by and it's been great. Been loving it. Born and raised in the state of Wyoming. As you can tell, I wanted to represent today. I went to school at the University of Wyoming, and this is my second role out of school. And it's been great. I love working here, and it's what it's done for my career, and what I've learned in this role has been invaluable, priceless.
Awesome. And we're happy to have you on the team.
Hey, thank you.
So let's talk about client acquisition costs. What is it?
So a client acquisition cost is everything that it takes or costs to get a client into your sales process. So that's your ad spend, your CRM tools, your cost of your salesperson, and how much time you spend on sales.
So what's a good client acquisition cost for let's say a construction company?
Typically, you want to be within the 20 to 30% range of your total profit from the job. Anything higher than that is, you're kind of starting to look at that red flag area a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So 20 and 30% of what you spend
Yes.
should be ideally what it costs to obtain a client.
Correct.
Okay.
You got it.
So CAC, client acquisition costs, that's what we're talking about. So just in case we use that later on, you know what we're talking about.
Yep.
It's the acronym. So what are some common mistakes that people make that raise their CAC? Why does that happen?
So it comes down to not really understanding your marketing strategy in a drill down way. Like, you want to really understand it, because when you're doing stuff like ad spend on Google Ads, for example, you want to make sure that you know that those are serving to the right people, to the right audience, or else you're kind of just blowing money and you don't really know where those ads are serving. You want to have a good understanding of those things. It's things like that, having a slow or outdated website, and you're losing people even when you get them to the website. Things of that nature really affect how your client acquisition costs can not only be too high or too low, but fluctuate in between those two.
What are some levers of things that we can do to help lower client acquisition costs?
Just from our internal team, our knowledge of how these things work, whether that's making sure that the ad optimization is targeted correctly within, if you're doing Google Ads, or if you're doing content marketing with SEO, you want to make sure that you're speaking to the right audience. You're showing up with the correct keywords. You want to make sure that those costs are going to the right place, and you want to make sure inherently that you're getting the most out of every dollar that you spend with marketing. And we know how to calculate that. We consider ourselves experts in that field, so that's what we do.
So having somebody to help you figure that stuff out is useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially this, we're going through a little bit of a crazy economic time that that we're entering. So with that being said, it can be a little bit more difficult. The client acquisition costs can go up because people just kind of get hesitant when the market fluctuates, and those things do what they do. So it's really important to have those numbers nailed down so you can make your process as efficient and scalable as possible.
Yeah. I from all the conversations I have with clients, this is a number that a lot of them don't understand.
Yeah.
Because some of it is they don't even have a pipeline. And I know this is not what we're supposed to be talking about, but it is a part of the fact is they don't have a sales pipeline. So they don't even understand they don't even understand how to calculate to get the close, because they don't know where it's coming from, because they don't have attribution.
Yes.
They don't have clear attribution.
And to your point, attribution is super, super important, because it helps you understand it to learn lessons. Like, for example, you might want to try a PPC platform like Facebook or Reddit to start.
Yeah.
And then if you can attribute, we only got a couple leads in a few months over that, we have to try something else. You use those data-driven decisions to pivot and make your business run more efficiently. So again, if you're looking at Facebook or Reddit, it's we don't even know if we can attribute this right. We don't know if we're getting enough leads. I mean, maybe that, you come back and say you want to pivot to Google Ads, you want to do more organic SEO content marketing. It helps you make those decisions and makes life a lot easier on the marketing side.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen things go a couple different ways. Is one, people overspend in some particular platform, Google. They'll be I'm just gonna keep spending to drive more leads, but they don't really have a clear understanding that, you might be overspending because you don't know your client acquisition costs. So you're flooding a market that maybe is oversaturated or, whatever. What is your kind of thought on that?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and then that also kind of bleeds into seasonality a little bit. Overspending during the winter season when you're, for example, doing structural repair or something like that, some sort of contractor work like that, where that leads are going to be more expensive in the winter, but there's also going to be that shorter volume of them. So does it make sense to go after that higher acquisition cost if we're talking about ad spend? Like maybe you want to reallocate some of that budget to more sales time, a different CRM feature, and then in the spring and the summer when your business is really starting to take off because you're in season, maybe that budget gets reallocated back into ad spend or something like that. That's just an example. But those sort of things.
And the other thing that I think I've seen is like people going and spending on they're spreading their budget out on a bunch of different platforms, and they're like, they're not really getting anything out of any of them because they're like, you're probably not spending enough or whatever. But I think there's another kind of path of client acquisition is like, if you understand what channels are driving your sales, well, then you probably should look at those areas a little bit closer and maybe spend more, or maybe pull back in other areas where you're overspending because it's not working. So understanding that is a huge piece of this conversation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say, like, I know here at Watermark, kind of one of the things that we preach is we want to take an omnichannel approach, but there's also a line to walk there within that, right?
Sure.
Like we don't want to, like you said, we don't want to spread things too thin. But in the PPC world, we all know that at some point you're going to have to pay to play.
Fact of the matter.
Fact of the matter. Truth of the game.
Full organic approach is probably going to be really tough and have years of effort it's a long game for sure compared to the PPC world.
Yeah, and that's not to say that organic efforts are bad. Like SEO, we kind of talk about it internally as like investing into the stock market, which is a little bit ironic right now, but it's not going to be this instant gratification thing, but it's going to pay dividends down the road, and it's going to build that site authority, and your SEO visibility is going to go up. Whereas PPC, you pay to play, you're going to get those leads pretty quick if your ads are optimized and they're showing in the right places and they're targeted correctly.
Like somebody who's doing this on their own, without a professional, what are the biggest mistakes that somebody could fall into the trap of?
I think it's going into, and I'm using PPC platforms as an example because that's kind of my field of expertise, but it's like kind of like you said earlier, going in and just kind of setting it and forgetting it. Like, okay, I selected this pre-made ad audience on Google Ads. I'm just going to run it at $40 a day and see what happens, where, you're not looking at keywords, you're not looking at negative keywords, you're not looking at location targeting. If you're a service-based area, there's a lot of things that you can go into. There's a lot of cool levers you can pull within these ad platforms to really make it right. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is like they kind of get intimidated by all of this information and it can kind of overwhelm them a little bit. And they just kind of say, well, I'm just going to roll the dice with Google Ads this month and see what happens. And then, they don't have the right targeting settings. They're not going to a good landing page. The landing page isn't optimized. It's just what I really like to think of it as is you just want to put them on a correct path, and you want to make sure every step in the staircase makes sense.
How would somebody from home be able to say, I want to better understand my client acquisition cost? How would somebody go about calculating that on their own?
Well, you want to look at your total ad spend first off. You want to look at how much time and money you spend within and on your CRM, whatever that is. We obviously are Team HubSpot over here, but whatever that may be, it's total time used in the sales process. Just adding all of those things together, your ad spend, how much time you spend on SEO, other marketing things, content marketing, building the relationship and getting the actual sell to the client. Those sort of things all kind of amalgamated together.
Yeah. And then divided that by your number of
leads. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Wayne, it's good talking to you. In conclusion, anything you would like to kind of highlight or anything we didn't cover that you would like to kind of talk about?
Yeah, I just want to say that like this client acquisition cost thing, like I said, especially with kind of what's going on with the markets right now, do not sleep on this. If you're a general contractor or anyone in the AEC industry, like you can really find a sweet spot within your business and like I said, kind of get the most squeeze out of every dollar that you spend towards marketing.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to have for every $1 we spend on marketing, we're getting $4 of revenue. That kind of number is exactly what you want because that's a really good number. And it also just helps you contextualize every asset of your business a little bit better and makes things more scalable for the future. You start with a certain amount of volume. Like let's say you're getting like 6 leads a month, and that's a great start. But then, you look at this and you start to understand what it really costs to get a client, and you can scale that up pretty easily.
Yeah. And just to add to that too, is like you brought up CRM in earlier in the conversation, and that is a huge piece of understanding. Did you close or did you not close?
Yeah.
How many came in the pipeline? I know we kind of talked about this earlier, but I do think that's really important. I know for a fact, because I've spoken to a lot of people in the construction world, a lot of them don't even have a CRM. They don't have no clue of, I got this many leads. We fielded them. We talked to them. And then how many of them came through and closed? How many of them we lose? We have no idea. So like having a CRM where you're putting in your pipeline of what is happening, your sales pipeline is important.
It's important. And also to that point with a tool, and again, I'll use HubSpot as an example here, like having all of that information just all in one place to look at and in an easy manner just makes a world of difference too, especially for like everybody within the business. It's very, simplified and easy to look at. It's visualized very well. Like I think that kind of is an extension of what I was saying of like, this is a very underrated, thing to look at. It's a very underrated metric, but the CRM, you can say the same thing about that. Like learning Google ads and doing them and seeing the numbers go up is one thing, but finishing the job and following through in a CRM is just as important.
Well, and that data only goes so far. It tells us as a marketer or you as trying to do your own marketing, I drove this many people, but then it stops. It ends there. There's a dollar associated with Bob who came in. Bob was worth this much money. That came from Google ads, or that came from Facebook ad, or that came from, whatever source it comes from. So that's huge.
Yeah. And like I said, it's slept on. And I just hope that we get this information out there and hopefully it can help out some general contractors. And if not, we're happy to help.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to the Watermark Water Cooler, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for watching and subscribing to the Watermark Water Cooler. We value your opinion and want to deliver the best content possible. To do that, we need your comments and feedback. What do you want to see or learn? Tools, techniques, behind the scenes? Comment below and make your idea our next video.